Good morning. Happy week 12 to all of you. Thanks for coming in, stopping by, asking your questions. We can get going this morning on our weekly start sit stream. If you are in need of defensive line help today, we have the guest for you. We have the Professor IDP over on the Twitter machine, the writer of the weekly defensive line streaming article, also at the IDPshow.com, Scott Soltis. Scott, how are you doing?
So I'm getting an echo. I just finished hearing what you said the first time. So that's why I was pausing to answer.
Okay. We will see if we can figure out what is going on with the feed there. In the meantime,
I'll hop off.
All right. Well, in the meantime, as Scott figures we get our technical difficulties aired out, we are happy to have you here on our week 12. Got some questions popping in already. We are getting ready to start. Like I mentioned, Scott is the writer of the weekly streaming article for the defensive line over at the IDPshow.com. So if you have defensive line questions, especially on this week 12 by McGinn week, we are here to get you set up and rolling this week. So hopefully now that we get Scott on, and still nothing. How are you doing over there, Scott, on your end? No?
I still have the echo. I have an idea for a workaround. I'll be back in just like 2 or 3 minutes. Jack Campbell for the first one for me.
So, okay, perfect. We'll get started with questions. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll get started here on the questions. And as soon as Scott jumps back on, he'll offer his expertise with us. So, Sebastian, good morning. He has a question about Jack Campbell and Spillane. We're really splitting hairs with these two. They're really, really close in rankings. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I'm going to go with Spillane here just because I like the matchup a little bit better for him. Campbell's going up against the Indianapolis Colts, who is maybe one of the worst matchups for linebackers. I know that now with Anzalone out, Campbell's a much better option, a higher floor play maybe. I just like Spillane in this matchup. I know that Scott likes Jack Campbell in this one, so.
Yeah, I'm a little bit higher on Jack Campbell, and sorry about that. I was so excited about the show this morning. I've been sending the link out left and right. I left YouTube open on my other screen, so I was hearing what we were saying a second later on YouTube. So that's what was going on. Figured it out. Sorry about that, but yeah, I'm a little bit higher on Jack Campbell. I don't love his matchup as much, but he's going to have the opportunities with Anzalone out. The Colts do love to run the ball. I don't know. I like this matchup for Detroit in a lot of places, but I've got Campbell as a tier 1, Spillane as a tier 2. Both are pretty viable options in this linebacker depleted week, thanks to our 6 buys.
Yeah. Sebastian has another question, this time for offensive side of the ball. He needs 2 in a PPR. He needs Juwan Jennings, DeAndre Hopkins, or Deebo Samuel in this one. For me, I usually don't like starting 2 players from the same team, especially when their quarterback is sitting on the sidelines for this one. So I'm going to go with Juwan Jennings and DeAndre Hopkins for me in this one in a PPR. Deebo has just been kind of dinged up, not been very effective, and Jennings has really been working into the offense quite a bit for me. So,
yep, I agree. I think Hopkins is kind of boom or bust. Jennings is presumably a little bit safer of a floor, so that's the kind of the combination I like. If you had a safer guy in the middle, then I might go Deebo as a boom bust play. But I kind of see Hopkins and Deebo in that same kind of role, and I like to mitigate my risk. But if you're a huge underdog, then I'd roll out Hopkins and Deebo because I think that could be like the biggest boom game. But smartest play, safest play, what I would do in 90% of my leagues is with you, Jennings and Hopkins.
Perfect. Our good friend Carter is on this morning. He's got a couple of questions. He's got each level of the defense. We'll start here with the secondary question. Carter needs 2 of these defensive backs: Cameron Bynum, Harrison Smith, Quinton Lake, or C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And if you've been listening to the previous 11 start and sit shows, Quinton Lake is an answer by default for me. He's just having a phenomenal season. And I don't say that just because he's my ride or die. I think he's in a great matchup this week. He's for sure the number one out of these four for me. And then I'm probably going to go Cameron Bynum as my number two. I don't know, Scott, do you see it any differently?
Yeah, I'm with you on Lake. The only place I was a little torn is Bynum versus Smith, but I do have Bynum a little bit higher. I mean, honestly, they are pretty tightly grouped, but I'd probably go Bynum and Lake as well. Gardner Johnson, I have him in a league where he even has a CB designation. I thought, oh, great, I've got the cheat code, I'm all set for the year, and it hasn't really been there from a fantasy perspective. At least the weeks I've needed it to be there. So I'm just a little personally burned there. And love Harrison Smith, have him in Dynasty everywhere, but really like him more at this point in like modified best ball formats where you can play him. And if he doesn't get you much, it's not a big deal. And if he has one of his crazy Harrison Smith games where he gets a sack and an interception and all those things, then it really booms for you. But I think Lake and Bynum are probably the safest bets. And in a week with this many buys, people probably want safer bets.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like Harrison Smith is 100% snap guy every single week, and Bynum is right around that 80-85%, which isn't always the best. But Harrison Smith is going to be kind of bailed out by big plays. I know a couple of weeks he had like 2 or 3 tackles and an interception, which kind of made his stat line look better than it really was. And it was kind of a late fourth quarter interception that was just kind of in meaningless time. So I'm going to go with Bynum here for me. Scott, this next one's for you. You got the defensive line question for you. You need 2 of these. Byron Young, Will Anderson, Ajish Ojolari, wrong one. And then Kayvon Thibodeau coming back off of IR this week for Big Blue.
Yeah, it's funny to me. I was thinking about Ojolari. Like the first time we came on together, someone just said Aziz, and I was like, oh, you can't play Aziz Ojolari anywhere. I'm like, what a difference a couple of weeks makes.
Right.
Where now he is one of the guys there. Just checking to see where I have them all relative to one another. This feels a little off for me, but I'd probably go Young and Ojolari just because Anderson and Thibodeau are both coming back off injury. We're assuming they're going to be fine, assuming they're going to play regular healthy snap shares, but I'm always a little bit leery of guys that very first week off of injury. Granted that they've got the talent, they're the biggest 2 names of the group, so it feels weird to say, hey, let's not play the 2 biggest names. But the reason why I'm a little bit more confident about that is I've got Byron Young as a very solid edge play this week. I've got him right around the same place as some guys that others are higher on, like Andrew Van Ginkel, who's been having an incredible season. I've got Van Ginkel just a spot ahead of him in his matchup this week. So I think Young is a very solid play. And then Ojolari is also a tier 2, very solid play for me. So given there's less uncertainty about what their roles are going to be coming off of their injury situations, those would be the 2 ways I go. And this is probably the only week I would do that because I think Thibodeau and Anderson are better players, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And I'm going to have to sneak. I got to get Will Anderson in my lineup, especially this week against Tennessee. Will Levis is a mayonnaise banana play away from having a big Will Anderson day. So I'm gonna go with Byron Young. I totally agree with you there, and Will Anderson. I'm really unsure of how that's going to shake out for the Giants with Thibodeau coming back. What that rotation is going to look like. So same sentiment about players coming off of injury. Now we've got one coming off of injury, maybe eating into each other's playing time. So I'm gonna go. If Will Anderson suits up, he's in my lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Carter has the linebacker question. He's got some pretty good options considering, we got 6 teams on a bye. KJ Britt, Devon Thibodeau, or Diablo. Oof, Thibodeau's on my mind right now. TJ Edwards, Josie Jewell, Tyrell Dodson, and Eric Kendricks, Trayvon Wallace. So there are 3 really easy slam dunks for me in this one with TJ Edwards, Josie Jewell, and Kendricks. Those are the 3 slam dunks. And then we've got a bunch of question marks circling the other ones. Trevin Wallace has been a great story, but with Jewell back, he's been playing fewer and fewer snaps every week. Terrell Dodson, we don't know what his role in Miami is going to be like. He could totally Jack Gibbons, Jerome Baker us, this week. It could be that kind of situation in Miami. KJ Britt, I'm going to take a big loss on him all season. He was my guy, my breakout linebacker for this season. And then that just leaves me by default. Diablo is going to be my option there at number 4. So Scott, unless you see anything different with that, I don't know your thoughts or sentiments on that.
No, I think Diablo and Wallace are kind of in similar spots. I mean, they played 69, 68% of snaps last week. So neither is as much of a slam dunk as the other three, because I'm 100% with you on Edwards, Jewell, and Kendricks. Dodson, he's the kind of linebacker that you love with those other three because he is more of a boom linebacker, but we just don't know what his role is going to be. So I wouldn't be excited about it, but I'd play Diablo as that fourth spot. But the other three spots, I mean, you're pretty solid. So I think you can afford to have one that is a little bit riskier of a play.
How long do you think before Dodson gets acclimated in that Miami defense that he starts playing? We saw a couple players get traded already this year, like Ernest Jones a couple times. Took him a game or two to kind of get brought up to game speed, and then he was in part of that defense. Jerome Baker, when he went to Tennessee, didn't play a single snap for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, like Jack Gibbons was on the sidelines, well, literally and figuratively with, his broken ankle, but. Is this a Terrell Dodson week after 2 weeks after getting picked up? Is he getting close? What are you thinking?
I don't know. I may have said this before, or I may just think it all the time, is I would rather be a week too late on somebody than a week too early when it comes to when they're going to be playing and when they're going to get those snap shares. So if I have Dodson, and I do have Dodson in several leagues, I'm not starting him in any of them this week. If he has a great game, awesome. I'm excited to use him next week, but I want to see the usage before I commit to a lineup spot. So I think it could be a couple of weeks. Same with David Long in Detroit now. He started off as a captain in Miami. They clearly have injuries and they clearly love to just frustrate fantasy managers from a linebacker perspective. So I'm not touching him this week, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him, I hope not relegate Jack Campbell, but who the heck knows in Detroit, because that linebacker room has been notoriously difficult to understand for a couple of years now.
Yeah, and Dan Campbell just hates his son, doesn't he? Why doesn't he just play him 100% of the time? Thanks, Carter, for the questions. We appreciate you. Fantasy Sports got two questions here, or a question here. Which two linebackers should I start? Zaire Franklin, Cashman, Campbell, or Jewell? So a lot of flavors of the week here. So I really like Franklin's matchup this week. I think he's a no-brainer probably every single week. And then the other three are fantastic options. I see them as back-end LB1s here. I'm going to go Jewell just with a matchup versus Kansas City. I think that they're going to be ahead, game script, running the ball a ton. No Isaiah Pacheco yet this week for the Kansas City Chiefs, but probably going to see a heavy dose of Kareem Hunt, who's run the ball 18, 19 times a game pretty easily. And so if Jewell can get a majority of those tackles, I think he's the clear-cut winner for me.
Yeah, I agree on Franklin. Or I'm sorry, did you say Franklin or Cashman first?
I said Franklin first.
Franklin, okay. Cashman's my other guy. I agree on Franklin. Cashman just plays 100% of snaps. Now that he's back, we saw Pace's role go down. He went back into his old role. You're playing the Bears, and it's a slight plus matchup. It's not a great one, but Cashman, again, he's a guy who didn't play last week because I didn't know what it was going to be like coming back from injury. Played well, played 100% of snaps. So I'm backing him as like an LB1 that I'm playing pretty much everywhere. And same with Franklin. I mean, Franklin can have good games, bad games, but he's one of the best. And so it's going to be hard to really ever pull him out of the lineup. But Jewell was 100% usage last week too. So I don't think you can go wrong with Jewell. The one that I would definitely not pick out of this group is Campbell, just because you don't really know what's going to happen. So we're a little bit different on our second, but I think either one is a good option compared to the fourth.
Yeah. And I think, being where we're at with injuries and being in week 12 with all the buys going on, these are a fantastic options. So really, really close. I think we're just splitting hairs there with kind of our rankings. So Harry wants to know, on a defensive back, do we start Jeremy Chin or Tyler Nubin? I'm all in on Chin. Nubin is just a tackle guy. He doesn't really do anything in the big splash play department. But Chin, we see rushing the quarterback. We saw an interception last week. So I'm all in on Chin this week, especially going up against going up against the Giants with that new quarterback under center there and Daniel Jones on the street. So
Yeah, it's funny you talk about splitting hairs. I just looked these guys up, and it didn't take me too long to search because they're right next to each other. I've got Newbin and Chin tied. I think I would go the same direction as you in terms of Chin, just because of the big play upside. I like Newbin long term, but I think he's been a little bit more tackle efficient than we can expect to see all of the time. And so Chin, we know what he is. We know how he's being used. Both 100% snap guys. Grades are very similar. Chin grades out a little bit better. Matchup, both are good matchups against the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. I would lean Chin. So I'm with you.
Yeah, and I did misspoke. I said that they're playing. They're not playing each other. So then it's the Chin versus the Cowboys. So. And Newman, like you said, does get a really good matchup versus Tampa. They get Mike Evans back, so that defense is going to probably be on the field a little bit more. So who knows? That might be a really good matchup too. I can see why they're really close in your matchup or lineups. So, War Clouds has to sit one of these: Spillane, Shire, Speed, or Henley. So, great options there.
Yeah, embarrassment of riches.
It is. It is. I'm almost leaning Spillane here.
Yeah.
Henley has just been a tackling force. Denzel Perryman is ruled out again. So he's going to be the one lone linebacker. We had this gross rotation to start the season. And then now it's just clear-cut Henley's linebacker core. So, yeah, I'm going to probably sit Spillane here, the 3.
Yeah, I'm saying Spillane too. For me, it's close actually between Spillane and Speed, but again, these are just all good options. But I would probably sit Spillane. Matchup isn't the best. Denver has been a pretty middle of the road to lower matchup for opposing linebackers so far this season. I don't have the most recent couple of weeks pulled up, but season long, it just hasn't been a great one. And it has a pretty consistent offense. It's not like they've changed quarterbacks at any point. I get a lot more focused on how they've recently been playing, if there's been a big O-line shakeup or new quarterback or you fired an offensive coordinator. But I'm comfortable with having a sense of who the Broncos are now. And we know that they're not an overly advantageous matchup for Denver. So I think, this one, 4 talented guys, get rid of the worst matchup. To me, the worst matchup of these 4 is Denver.
Okay. Skywalker wants to know quarterback rest of the season, Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud?
I'm Daniels. I like the running upside. Stroud's getting his weapons back, so that's a good thing for him and a good thing for that offense. I haven't looked at their schedules, but thinking about the NFC East, a lot of those matchups from a defensive perspective don't really scare me too much. The Cowboys, they've got Micah, and I like the linebackers, but they're not like shutting teams down. The Giants are a hot mess outside of Sexy Dexy in the middle, and then it says Giants, Commanders. I'm slighting Eagles. Eagles defense has not been what we expected it to be, or at least what I expected it to be this year. I thought that all those second-year guys were going to make the third-year jump, and the third-year guys were going to make. I thought there was going to be a whole lot of development and growth in the Eagles, and haven't really seen it yet. So, assuming the schedule is backloaded, where they're playing a lot of teams within their division there at the back end, I would probably lean that way for that reason. I mean, not that
and they both have buys in week 14.
South is putting the fear of God into many quarterbacks either. So yeah, I think the rushing upside would really be the tiebreaker for me.
Yep, and that's what I was going to mention. The rushing upside is there with Daniels. Not that Stroud doesn't run, but not to the effectiveness that Daniels does. They both have buys in week 14, so that's a mood point too. So yeah, I'm going to go with you and go with Jaden Daniels. Another quarterback question here. Sebastian wanted to know, does he start Braylon Allen this week or Bryce Young 4 points for a passing touchdown? I'm going to lean Braylon Allen. Brandon Allen against Green Bay. I know Jair Alexander is kind of dinged up a little bit. That might be a little bit more script game. Carolina has a kind of a tough matchup versus the Chiefs defense. So I'm gonna lean Brandon Allen there.
Yeah, I was just doing some quick second screen reading about Brandon Allen because he wasn't on my radar. I knew that Purdy was out. I didn't realize who the backup was there. Not as locked in on offense. Uh, Allen is tied to a better offense, but Young has been playing decently lately. I'd probably lean Young just because I don't really know much about Brandon Allen. We have seen replacement quarterbacks come in and have a great first week that they come back out, so there is the opportunity of that. But I would probably lean Young because you have a little bit less unknown if you look at his most recent performances because
Sure.
you actually have recent performances to look at,
Right.
generate expectations.
Yeah. And I'm going to go Allen just because of the pieces around him, like you mentioned. Shanahan's a great offensive coach. He's going to put his players in the best position. And if he's got Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, and Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle as pieces to play with, and Bryce Young, I don't know if you can say that the same about the pieces he's playing. And I would rather go up against Green Bay's defense right now than I would go up against Kansas City Chiefs. Packers are going to be down a couple players. Jair Alexander. We saw that Edgerrin Cooper is probably going to be out for the Packers this week. So a couple missing pieces.
Yep.
War Clouds needs one. Luvu, Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean, Jack Campbell, Kendricks. 3 points bonus for 10 combined tackles, 6 points for a sack. So that boosts Luvu, but does he get a sack this week against the Cowboys, which is probably happening because Zach Martin, I think, is out also for the Cowboys.
I think I saw that as well. This is an interesting scoring system though too, because that 10 combined tackles changes my thought process a little bit. I still like Luvu because he has the snaps and that big sack upside. I don't know that he's the most likely to have 10 combined of this group. I think that would probably be Dean for me, and probably Kendricks is like the second most likely. So, hopefully you're able to start more than one linebacker. And if your other linebacker that you're starting is a safer play, then Luvu would be who I would partner. If your other linebacker is more of a boom bust linebacker, then I'd probably lean Dean among the rest of the guys. But like you said, Walker's going to get a lot of play too with Cooper out. So it's like, are you swinging for that 10 tackle bonus, or are you swinging for the sack bonus? Give me Luvu.
Okay. And I'm going to go Kendricks here just because of the matchup. I think that this game gets ugly and Washington ends up running a ton with Brian Robinson towards the end of the game. So Kendricks has been a tackle machine, and I think he has a better chance to hit that 10 tackle combined bonus than maybe somebody gets a sack. So sacks are a little more tough to predict. So our good friend Eric Harms, hopefully he's got a new computer so he can get his question answered here. So this one's for you, Scott. What do you got? Who you got for him for a defensive line?
Absolutely. It's not just a matter of riding the hot hand and how excited I am that he's been able to boost my average in the DL streaming article until he got rostered too much where he's no longer a streamer. I like this matchup. I like the grades. I think I have them both as tier 2 plays for this week. So it's not like there's a chasm between them, but I would rather have Tooley this week than Young.
Okay. Good luck to you, Eric. Hopefully get your computer fixed. War Clouds, we got offensive piece here. Demario Douglas, Hunter Henry, Alec Pierce, or either of the Raiders running backs. Full point PPR.
So I haven't seen who is going to be playing running back for the Raiders this week. I saw both Madison was missing practice and
Amir Abdullah is going to be the guy.
What is it?
Amir Abdullah, I think, is going to be the guy, and then Dylan Albee is going to be kind of like that maybe question mark. So in a tough matchup, I'm trying to stay away from that. That hasn't been a very fruitful position for fantasy this season. So to me, it's going to be one of the wide receivers or pass catchers, and I'm either Demario Douglas or Hunter Henry for me. In a PPR, I'm probably going to lean Hunter Henry just because he's been kind of that focal point of that offense. He's been consistent week in and week out for Drake May.
Yeah, this is, this is a tough one. if there was more clarity, even if we knew it was going to be Amir Abdullah getting like 80% and Lobby just coming in from time to time, Abdullah catches passes out of the backfield. So, that was his calling card in all of his several stops that he's had in his career. He's a good kick returner too. So, but again, I want to be a week late, not a week early. So Henry is the safest of these guys.
Yeah. Good luck to you, Workload. Malik has a question. This one's for you too, Scott. Yaya Diaby, Rashawn Gary, Brandon Fisk, or Odafe Owe this week. Also, someone just dropped Trevion Walker and Greg Rousseau because they're on a bye. Who would you pick up of the two? I already have Bernard and Terrell Johnson owner. Maybe that's a Tyron Johnson. So maybe he doesn't want to get too heavy with the Bills. He's got Bernard and Tyrion Johnson. So how about the first question first?
Yeah. So it is. Sorry, there's a lot of guys to look up there in a short time period. Gary. So I love Owe. I love Owe in best ball. He's a Penn Stater. I'm a Penn Stater, but the snaps aren't there. Fisk had a great game last week as well, but on a very less than advantageous number of snaps. So he was very efficient. I don't like to chase efficiency. I would rather chase snaps. Gary gets those. Diaby, also has some of that upside as well. But for me, Gary playing a backup quarterback in San Francisco, I also like attacking those matchups a little bit. San Francisco, not a good matchup for edges so far this season, but that's been with Brock Purdy. So give me Gary. I know he's been very frustrating for fantasy managers, including this season in many places, but I think he's still the way to go.
Perfect. And the second question there, would you add Trevion Walker or Greg Rousseau to this lineup?
So no, I don't think so. I like Walker. Rousseau has had a great season, but I'm like you in terms of apprehensive about putting too many eggs in one basket with Bills players. So I think Rousseau is probably the next best option, but I still think I would stick with Gary.
All right. Sounds good. Good luck, Team Malik. SRM has got a couple questions. This one's here for you, Scott. Has been choosing one Metabike, Agba, Tim Settle, or Devontae Wyatt. You might win the award for the first Tim Settle question. So
yeah. So it's not Tim Settle. I think that he was someone I did take a peek at for streaming this week, but if you have these other options, I wouldn't be dipping into that well. I think it's probably going to be Matabike. I like what Ogba's done. Wyatt started off the season on fire, got hurt, came back, hasn't really, I don't think, done a lot since he's been back. I don't know because I've benched him in the leagues where I have him, and I've been looking other directions. So for me, it's Matabike.
All right. SRM has a secondary question here. Cameron Curl, Mustafa, Darius Washington, and Devon Wilson. I am drinking the Kool-Aid on Washington here. He's got the snaps in Baltimore now. He's got the confidence of the coach. They limited the Pittsburgh Steelers to their second fewest yards of the season last year, or the season in passing, with under 190 yards, which has been kind of the way to beat Baltimore is through the air. And last week they kind of shut down Pittsburgh, which has been kind of a pretty decent passing offense with Russell Wilson under center, no passing touchdowns. So I love Curl preseason. I thought he was going to be wheels up this season, but just his alignment just hasn't been what I wanted it to be. I also like Washington this week in case Roquan Smith doesn't play. That might be a few more opportunities for him to get a couple more tackles. Kyle Hamilton will probably wear the green dot there. So, I'm all in on Washington, maybe to a fault, but.
Yeah, so I agree. Washington for one. For the second, I probably still would go Curl. He was back to 100% snaps. I know Wilson plays almost 100% of snaps. I haven't looked up Mustafa, but Curl, we've seen him do it. Like you said, alignment not great, but more of a proven commodity. And I think it's Curl or Wilson are the two I would look at for that second spot, but I would lean Curl, and I'm gonna start Curl in a couple of leagues this week. So if I'm wrong, if you're wrong, I'm wrong. We'll go down together, and otherwise we'll score some points. And either way, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, and Mustafa's been 100% of snaps since like week 6 or something like that. So it's been pretty solid for him. Wilson's kind of like up and down. So I'm with you with Curl and Washington there. So all right, we're gonna do a little rapid fire round here to kind of catch up on some questions, get some going here. So Frosty C, good morning. I need 2 starts and sits here. I'm already down 40 points due to Myles Garrett, so we need some big plays here. Do I start Bryson Young or Jared Verse?
Verse.
Okay. And then starting Josh Metellus or Evan Williams. I'm going to go Evan Williams here just because Metellus has not been getting the snaps that he did last season. So
I agree.
We're going to go there. Okay. Perfect. Good luck to you, Frosty. Michael, is Overshown a good play over Quinton Lake in a flex spot this week? I think they're both fantastic plays this week. I'm always going to shade the linebacker over a safety anytime I can. And even though Lake is getting a lot of slot spots, I still like Overshown.
Yeah, and just watching Overshown play too is just so exciting. He's one of those guys that your eye gravitates to when you see him flying around the field. So I'm Overshown as well.
Yeah, and they get a good matchup versus Washington this week, so that's a little bump. JP, good morning. I have Roquan Smith. Sorry to hear that. I have Nick Bolton and Josie Jewell on the bench. Should I play one of them or grab Malik Harrison and see how things go on Monday night? There is such a huge difference between Josie Jewell and Malik Harris for me. Like if Roquan Smith doesn't go, I think the gap from going to Malik Harrison is way bigger than the drop from Roquan Smith to Josie Jewell for me. So I'm going to go Josie Jewell and not worry about it.
Yeah, Bolton's been disappointing. I'd probably go Jewell. They both have the usage. I both have them as tier 2 plays, but Bolton's playing the Panthers. So that means that the Panthers have the Chiefs. I'm with you. I think I would not take the risk here. If you were talking about having to start some really questionable linebackers instead, then you might do that strategy of pick up the backup, play the backup if you need them. But to me, that's a little bit too risky, especially for this late in the season where, I know this is the last week of the regular season in a couple of leagues I'm in, and we're really coming down to this stretch. I wouldn't be taking that big of a risk. I would go Jewell.
Amanster, I need a running back off waivers this week with buys and estimate right now. Would you go Abdullah, Benson, Akers, Justice Hill, Roshan be better options? Unless I like Roshan in this group right away, but
that's where I was going to. His usage has changed since the new offensive coordinator. Abdullah, if it's full point PPR, I could see him having a handful of catches. Roshan's a little bit more touchdown dependent, but it's probably Roshan for me too.
Perfect. It's good when we agree. It makes it a ton better. Andrea wants to know Juwan Jennings, Mario Douglas, or Alec Pierce. Flex half point PPR. I'm going to go Jennings here pretty easily for me.
Yeah, Jennings as well.
Yeah. Just involvement in the offense is consistent and probably a good bet to get in the end zone this week.
Yeah, and I don't think the quarterback play in any of those 3 situations is really ideal. So give me the guy who's done more this year. Pierce is one catch, 69 yards and a touchdown. Awesome. Or, puts up zeros in the line. And Douglas, I still don't know how to figure out that New England offense, but I agree with what we were thinking before with Hunter Henry over him. So I'm with you on Jennings.
Perfect. All right, here's one for you. Jonathan Gunnar or Max Crosby this week, which is kind of a crazy question to even be considering.
Yeah, it's Max Crosby. They're both awesome plays. Good to you for building this roster, but it's Crosby. Greenard, there's not many people I would play over Greenard, but Crosby is one of them.
Yeah. And I meant crazy as in, like, if you would have asked this question preseason, like, there would have been, like, this isn't even a question, but we are where we are right now in the season, where Grenard has been putting up really consistent PFF grades, just hasn't been getting home as consistently as Van Ginkel is across the way. And so Van Ginkel's got these big splash plays. He's the number one defensive lineman and our scoring systems and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, oof, we're to that part of the season right now. So
yeah, and it's not a big gap. I immediately just saw that and thought, oh man, yeah, it's got to be Crosby. And then I looked, I was like, actually, yeah, I've got him like just a hair apart this week in particular. But I can't bench Max Crosby.
Andrea's got a couple quarterback questions, and I don't know if they're all together in one tier. Like he's got all three quarterbacks together in one, and he's deciding. But we'll go question by question. So Kyler Murray or Goff?
Goff.
Okay, and I'm going to lean Kyler Murray just a little bit, probably a little more pass happy offense. They're probably going to be needed a little bit more this week. And then he's got Jaden Daniels or Goff, and this one's pretty easily Jaden Daniels for me.
Yep, it's Daniels for me too.
Yep. And then I would rank them Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray, and Goff if they're all in the same league, if it's some sort of super flex kind of decision for you. So
yeah, and I would just flip the last two, but either way we're good. And I took a peek. So my default for offensive stuff is Fantasy Pros consensus, because they do have so many rankers there for offense. And they're all top 8 picks this week. So all very good ways, but they had it as Daniels, Murray, and Goff as 3, 5, and 8. So, you're not making a mistake, whatever you do here.
No. And we saw Goff have a huge game last week with big pass happy game. So Roguru, good morning, friends. Hey, change up your logo. Happy football. Will Anderson, Brian Burns, or Calais Cansey need one here for our friend Roguru?
Do you have a strong feeling on this one?
I can't not play Will Anderson. If he's in, I think that matchup versus Tennessee is just too juicy. That Tennessee offensive line has been given up. It's a turnstile at left tackle. If him and Hunter flip-flop or rotate, they're both going to have an opportunity. And Will Levis is just trying to make too many plays, holding on to the ball. So that's tough. Cansey's been playing out of his gourd lately, though, too. So,
yeah, I like Cansey. I like Burns. Oh, man. Burns, I have just a spot below Jonathan Greenard, who we were just talking about. So I'm very high on Burns this week. I have him as, one of my top 15 overall IDP plays. So I would lean Burns, but again, a little bit of that is just maybe my hesitancy of week 1 post-injury play. So not knowing exactly what we're going to get from Anderson. But again, even if they were both healthy, I think I would probably lean Burns a little bit in this one. You're right, matchup is better, but I think talent and situation for Burns may trump that a little bit for me.
All right. Again, you can't go wrong. I think both are great options. So.
Yeah.
Charlie has a IDP or offensive question here. Neighbors if he plays or Debo? I'm Neighbors if he plays. I think they're just going to force feed him the ball. Tommy Cutlets is just going to force feed him the ball this week.
Yeah. And Debo hasn't had that kind of weird good usage that he's had in some past seasons. Yeah. So I would probably go Neighbors as well. He's what that offense has been running through.
Yeah. Tent has two PPRs here. We need to pick 2 of these 3 wide receivers, Tank Dell, Josh Downs, and Xavier Worthy. I'm going to lean Downs and Dell here. Worthy's usage in that offense is just too inconsistent for me. Playing Carolina, they might not be throwing the ball a ton. I don't know.
And sorry, I don't know if it's picking up on your end or not, but one of my son's friends keeps pinging him to play Halo with him, and I'm getting the notification on my computer because I also have the Xbox app on my computer. So I'm trying to text that dad right now to be like, hey, can you tell Ben Theo can play with him later?
These are important things, though, Scott. These are all important things.
I think these are all kind of boom bust options. Pick 2, Tank Dell, Josh Downs. All right, I got to send the text real quick.
That's right. Will Anderson or Thule this week for you, Scott? You were a big fan of Thule earlier, so.
I am. I'm sticking with him. I like Anderson more most weeks, but this week it's Thule.
Perfect. Andrea's got a tight end question here. Will this league Dallas Goedert or Hunter Henry? I am all in on Dallas Goedert this week, especially with Devontae Smith being out. I think that that offense on those targets will funnel through Dallas Goedert this week. AJ Brown, they'll look to lock him down, so they might do a little box coverage or stack on his side. So I like Goddard over the middle a lot this week over those other options.
Yeah, and I like going with the offense I like the most, and I like the Eagles' offense way better than the other two.
Yeah, good luck to you. Offensive question here. Please pick two. Rashad Bateman, Cashin Booty, Jalen Coker, or DeMarcus Robinson, Alan Thielen, or Vele. Thanks you. Choosing two of these. Bateman, I think, was a little dinged up earlier in the week. It's tough. Low key, I really like Vele. He's been really growing in that Denver offense, and I think he has a really good matchup this week.
He's kind of like the new Tim Patrick, where he's just going to get some of those nice weeks and be under the radar. But this really feels like a question from like a 16-team league where it's who, and I love these. I love playing in formats like that. So I'm with you on Vele. Thielen coming back from injury, Carolina's offense. I know it ran through him last year a lot more than we expected it to. It might end up doing that again this year, but we don't know this week. This second one.
I'm gonna go Bateman.
I'm gonna go Bateman too. The only thing I would suggest though is since he has been a little bit, I don't know if he's still on the injury report or not, but I believe that's the Monday night game. So you may want to have, if you can put this as a flex instead of a wide receiver and have something else there just in case there's a weird. And honestly, even if he wasn't on the injury report at all, I like to always do that hedging of bets. So I would lean Bateman, but I would have a plan B, even if it's a dart throw kind of plan B.
And my dart throw would be Booty here. He's just playing upper 90% every week for New England. Got a chance to get in the end zone there. So we're going to go Vele and Bateman, Vele, Booty. Frosty C, certain three, Jack Campbell, Kaiser White, Alshire, Nick Bolton, Roquan Smith with the injury. Thanks. Much love. I'm almost ruling Bolton or Roquan Smith out this week in my head.
Same.
That injury he was immediately ruled out in the game, so that lets me know that it wasn't questionable at all. He was done. And then didn't practice all week. So in my head, he's probably out for me. So I'm really looking at Campbell, White, Alshire, and Bolton. Man, that matchup for Kaiser White is gross this week.
Yes, that's what I was just looking at. Seattle is averaging, and this is like using a pretty juiced scoring system in my home league, but Seattle is averaging only allowing 27 points to opposing linebackers across the entire linebacker group. So, and White just, he's someone who I had high hopes for this season. Hasn't really panned out in some of my shallower leagues. I've cut him and moved into other areas. So, White and Roquan would be the two to bench for me.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you there, and just go Campbell, Shire, and Bolton. So good luck to you, Frosty. Eric has two here: Daniil Hunter, Dexter Lawrence, Thule, or Byron Young. So Scott, who you got here?
Hunter is the slam dunk, stone cold lead pipe lock of the week for this one. But then, for the next spot, it's probably going to be Thule for me. Again, I like Lawrence. He's had a great career. He's good to put up some numbers from time to time. I just don't know that this is the week where I want to be playing him. So I've got him. Oh, he's coming back off of injury still too. So he's still getting up to full speed. I would go Hunter and Thule with Young as the third.
Yep. That's where I was leaning to right away. Dylan, happy game day. Happy game to you. Full PPR questions, different leagues. Vele, Akina, Schoonmaker. I'm going to go Vele there if you need upside. Westbrook Akine has been kind of like that touchdown machine lately, so not a terrible option there. If it's PPR, I'm going to go Akine. If it's just touchdown, it is full PPR. I'm going to go Westbrook Akine in full PPR there of those options. And then quarterback, Baker or Kyler. Baker does get Mike Evans back this week.
For upside, I still have to go Kyler just because
the rushing, yeah. Yep. And then one running back, Akers, Abdullah, Lauby, Gus the Bus, or Mostert. I guess Abdullah, because he's guaranteed touches over where the other ones aren't. Actually, Gus the Bus, they're going to be run heavy.
Yeah, and I was just looking up because I remember being surprised at how much he played, but I wanted to get the actual number. Actually, Edwards only played 16% of snaps last week. It felt like he had a more oversized impact. So yeah, I probably would avoid that. But Mostert is an attractive one too.
He hasn't been playing a lot either, so
yeah. Some of this is offense is just a different language to me. I have to have as obviously all my leagues, not all my leagues, most of my leagues play both offense and defense, but these are also a bunch of guys that I don't have anywhere, so I'm not as locked in on them. I think I've been talking myself into Abdullah this morning in various places as the morning's gone on, so I'd go Abdullah.
Perfect. And then one flex here, Dobbins, Hopkins, or Dell. Pretty easy for me that Dobbins play running back, guaranteed touches. He's going to be there. So best of luck to you, Dylan. Eric, start 3. Jones, Okereke, Walker, or Campbell. So of those 4, who are you going to sit?
Probably Jack Campbell. I like all 4. I think these are all good, probably LB1, LB2, LB3 at worst options. But Campbell, again, just it's so I want to see what it looks like before I start starting him in many leagues. So I think Campbell is a good option, but I would probably have him just behind these other 3 this week.
Yeah. And I'm going to pivot to – I'm going to leave Walker out. Just watching him, he looked lost last week sometimes in his defensive snaps. I think Campbell's wheels up this week, especially with Anzalone out. David Long didn't have a long time to get up to speed and stuff like that. Malcolm Rodriguez is coming back. So Campbell's locked in for snaps for me. So I'm going to go with Jones, Okereke, and Campbell. And leave Quay Walker out. So whatever your flavor is on that matchup between Walker and Campbell, I guess there. Eric, good luck to you. Fantasy breakout, defensive line, Simmons, Franklin Myers, Zadarius Smith, or Campbell. I'm assuming that's Calais Campbell for Miami.
Yeah. Again, I like some of these options better than the other. I'm probably not touching Zadarius Smith or John Franklin Myers. Simmons, you can't go wrong. I mean, I've got Simmons as my 7th best IDP play for the week. So I'm very high on Simmons. Go that way.
Perfect. Follow-up question here with some linebackers. Rank these linebackers for this week. Speed, the Dallas Cowboys linebackers. So we're looking at Kendricks and Overshown, Henley, and David. Henley is my number 1 from this group. He's just been out of control. Speed's my number 2. Kendricks is my 3rd. Levante David 4, and then Overshown 5. But if Overshown is my 5th, I'm feeling really good about my linebacking options this week.
Yeah, I would move Overshown up slightly, but that's the only I like Overshown even a little bit. Well, no, I guess I was going to say I like him more, but they have identical grades for me this week. Overshown and Kendricks. It's personal preference. I think I like Overshown a little bit more. I'm rooting for him more, I guess. So that's probably what's biasing me there. But I agree in terms of the general. That's the only place I would flip him a little bit, but even that's getting towards the back end of that list.
All right. Got the hopium going for you this morning, so that's good.
Well, the
What's
Bengals
the Halo update?
I can have hope. That's the nice thing about a Bengals bye week is I don't have to have despair. I can have hope for and good things happening today.
What's the Halo update? Are we locked into Halo yet or not?
I have gotten no more requests.
Okay. All right.
So
perfect.
they're either playing or the dad got the text.
All right. Lance, I know this is a start-sit show, but I'm wondering if I might address something. I'm trying to trade Milano to a contender for pittance, and he is skeptical. Alshai, a SI article says that Milano's role to grow each week. That sounds really reasonable to me. It's probably going to be coming at the expense of Dorian Williams.
Yep.
So we could definitely see that totally. And so if you're whenever your trade deadline is, Lance, maybe hold out like a week or two, and if we get more positive game tape from Milano, and then all of a sudden that just increases his value. So hopefully you can get into like a little bidding war in your league.
Yeah, I agree. To me, especially if you're not contending, trading Milano is a great thing to do. And especially, I don't know why, if you're trying to trade him for so little, the person is so skeptical. It's unless you're only in a league where you have maybe 3 rounds and it's still a 3rd round pick or something like that. But yeah, I think if we were in a league together, Lance, and you were sending me Milano for my 6th, I would smash accept just on the hope that it would turn out, because it's going to have better odds than a 6th round pick would. So yeah, that's hopefully they take the deal, because if it really is a pittance, it's a smart play.
All right, we're gonna speed things up again here.
Sorry, I love talking trades too.
That's all right. I know. It's good stuff. Good stuff. I'm with you. Offensive question: have to start Hopkins, Jameson Williams, and Watson. Should I pick up and start one of these instead in half-point PPR? Schoonmaker, Bateman, Westbrook, Akine, or McMillan?
No.
I'm with you. Yeah, those are probably better options that you already got. Good job, Fantasy Breakout. Good luck to you. Andrea's got a couple questions here. Choosing 4 of the PPR: Hunt, Montgomery, Tank Dell, DJ Moore, Xavier Worthy, Pearsall.
That's easy for me. That's the top 4.
Yep.
Those are the ones that I would go with. Pearsall and Worthy.
Touches. Yep.
Boom guys, but everyone else can have big games too, and we've seen plenty of big games from them. So on the first 4.
Yeah, same. Guaranteed touches 100% for me. Defensive line, here you go. DeForest Buckner, Keon White, or Karlaftis.
All right, so I've got Buckner as tier 1, ahead of White, and I know they're both ahead of Karlaftis just because I'm not as high on him as others, or the metrics I use don't have him pop in as many. So I would go Buckner, and that's not just my IDL bias. It's Buckner is amazing. I mean, he's always been there. The matchup not ideal against Detroit, but Buckner's too good of a player out of those 3. Keon White is great too, but I'd lean Buckner. Sorry, I know you said speed round.
That's right. That's right. No, Keon White's coming up back for limited practice this week with a knee injury, so makes sense for me. Ernest Jones or Kendricks? Ernest Jones is like the number 1 linebacker this week, I feel.
Yeah, I would lean Ernest Jones.
That's a good option to have there. So, and then defensive back, Antonio Winfield or Quinton Lake. There's not many I have higher than Quinton Lake, but Winfield might be one of those like set it and forget it type players. Just is almost like matchup proof. I know he doesn't get a great matchup this week with his Giants, but I don't think he needs a great matchup to produce stats. So,
yeah, I'm with you. Actually, I have Lake a little bit higher than Winfield, but again, that we know the talent is there, longer proven track record. To me, these are pretty interchangeable. Can't believe I'm the one going Lake.
I know. That's nice to hear once in a while. Malcolm Rodriguez is a 3rd linebacker, or KJ Britt, Trevin Wallace for Kevin. That's tough to trust a player coming back off injury, not knowing their role. With that said, do you like Britt or Wallace more?
Probably Wallace. I know 69% of snaps is very, very far from ideal, but at least we have a decent sense of that's what he's going to get. I don't see that dropping off much more. So I'd probably go Wallace of these 3.
And Wallace hasn't like disappeared. He's putting up like 5, 6, 7 tackles a week, and he gets a great matchup versus Kansas City. So I'm going to go Wallace here over Rodriguez for me, Kevin. Juice Man, who's the odd man out? Debo, Chuba, Jackson Smith, Najigba, or Ridley this week? Is it Debo?
I think it's Debo or JSN, because I'm playing Chuba and I'm playing Ridley because Levis has force fed Ridley. and he's had so many good games lately. I think it is Debo. Backup quarterback coming in. I think I'd sit Debo.
Yeah, it's Debo for me. Yep. Not looking at my scoring. Yeah, Debo for sure. So as weird as that sounds, that's where we are, Juice Man. Kicker. Oh my goodness. Jason Sanders, McLaughlin, or Aubrey. I'm going to take Miami kicker and go Jason Sanders. I think that offense is starting to put things together.
Yeah,
Playing at home.
This is a place where I'm just going to cheat and look up what the consensus is, and it's Sanders. McLaughlin is 8 in consensus. Sanders is 3. Aubrey is 14. So yeah, Sanders for me too.
All right, we'll get back on the shopping, or get back into our wheelhouse here. Who you got for these defensive linemen? Van Ginkel, Zach Allen, or Grenard this week? So,
I mean, it's really hard to not play Zach Allen because he has just been lights out. But you can say the same thing about Van Ginkel. I'm trying to see where I have these guys positioned. I think I will pivot away from my defensive tackle bias and go Van Ginkel. Probably.
Zach Allen had a limited practice on Friday with a heel injury, so.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it a little bit easier. Then Van Ginkel for me.
Yeah. Got to stick with the number 1 scoring player on the defensive line for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Darren, we are starting a GoFundMe page for Eric and his computer. So, last one. No, keep them coming. Linebacker Zaire Franklin or Spillane or Cashman or N'Kobe Dean. Thanks. 3 of these. So, of those 4, who are you going to sit there, Scott?
I don't know. See, these are lots of good problems people are having today. I really expected there to be a lot of the IDP dregs this week, given we have so many teams on bye. It's like, hey, should I be starting this rotational edge rusher or a third safety? But instead, it's like, hey, here are these 4 awesome options. Which one do you not play? I'm definitely high on Cashman, Franklin. It's between Dean and Spillane for me. And I have them with identical grades, pretty much same matchup. And they have pretty much identical PFF grades too. Spillane is a little bit better run defender. So that will be the arbitrary tiebreaker that I'll use.
Yep, I was going to go with that. So, perfect. Phil needs 3. Brian Burns, Calais Campbell, Christian Ellis, Dante Fowler, Montez Sweat, or DeMarcus Walker.
Definitely Burns.
Yep.
Campbell. I wouldn't mess with Ellis or Fowler because I know we got excited about Fowler a little bit ago, but the snaps have always been concerning. Sweat has been down. Walker has actually out-snapped Sweat in most, if not all, of the games this season. So Burns, high upside. Campbell, good floor, good all-around player. If you want to go upside with the last one, it's Sweat. If you want to go more reliable snaps, able to do more kinds of things, it's Walker for me. So it's just definitely not Ellis or Fowler. Do you have Montez Sweat is the much bigger name, but in following the snaps and Walker being someone that I've written up a few times already this season, yeah, I may be a little bit too close to this one.
Yeah, I like Ellis, kind of playing out of position. He's got the defensive line eligibility, but playing a lot of linebacker snaps, so that's kind of a cheat code for me. So Ellis would probably be my third, just coming back from injury. Last week we saw him kind of getting ramped up, playing 62% of snaps. We expect him to see a little bit more of that, getting back to that pre-injury snap closer to 80%. So Ellis is going to be my number 3 with Burns and Campbell there for you. So, all right, we reached the 10 o'clock time, Scott, so we are going to go really quick now. Like, we're really, really going to go quick now. We're going to keep going here. So, 4 linebackers: Shire, Tuatuo, Spillane, Campbell, Mac Wilson, Cody Barton. So you need to sit 2 of those.
2.
I'm sitting Tuatuo and Mac Wilson.
Wilson. Yep, I'm with you.
Okay. I need 4 of these defensive backs: Brian Branch, Javon Bullard, Christian Gonzalez, Keyshawn Nixon, Kenyon Martin, or Elijah Molden. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those 2. Christian Gonzalez had an injury pop up on Friday. What did he have? I'm going to start for sure Brian Branch, for sure Bullard. I think Nixon, especially with Jair Alexander out. And then I'm going to go Elijah Molden. Sorry.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're in agreement. Sorry, I was trying to help you out there because I know this was a lot of names to go through.
Yeah, it's a lot to digest. Clint, good morning, guys. Please pick 2 of these 3 linebackers: Jewel Bond or TJ Edwards.
Edwards, definitely. And then Bond.
Yep, I got Bond slightly over Jewel. So, yep. Good luck to you, Clint. Rogeru need 4 of these: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defensive back. Darius Washington, Tyler Nubin, Julian Blackman, Josh Metellus, Lake, or Rayshon Jenkins coming off injury. Metellus is for sure out for me.
And Jenkins is for sure out for me coming off injury. So,
Yep. Pick those first 4. JP, good morning. I'm sitting Sweat versus Minnesota and Turner versus Philly and playing Rashawn Gary, hoping he beats up on San Francisco, and Cooper versus Las Vegas. Any argument to playing Sweat or Turner there, Scott?
Some argument to play Sweat. Definitely not one to play Turner because we just don't, wait, sorry. I'm trying to think of which Turner. Kobe Turner, Dallas. Who's playing
Dallas
Philly?
Turner. Philly has the Rams, so that's Kobe Turner.
Okay. That makes it a little bit trickier. I like Kobe Turner probably more than Gary against San Francisco. So I'd probably switch to Turner.
Perfect. Good luck to you, JP. Thanks for the question. Andrew, start Julian Love and Tony Winfield or Renardo Green for San Francisco or Najee Johnson. I don't think you get cute. I think you stick with your studs, Love and Winfield. They're both top 12 options there.
Yeah, I agree. And if this is 2 separate questions, I was trying to figure out if the comma was to do this or that. I think it would be Winfield in the first, and then oh man, do you have a preference?
I like Renardo Green for San Francisco. I think he's a better play. So yes. Oh, okay. So if you read it that way, I'm probably going to go Julian Love in the first one and then Renardo Green the second.
Okay. Yeah. I'm Winfield and Green, but not by a lot.
Okay. Bond or Speed?
Bond. Yeah.
Not by a lot, but
Mm-mm.
close. Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, or Vita Vea?
So it's Carter for me. He's finally really came on. He is playing the snaps. He has all the talent in the world. Very, very slight plus matchup this week. It definitely wouldn't be Vea. It's between Carter and Anderson for me. And I'm just, I'm sure Anderson's going to have like a 3-sack week, given how much I've been fading him.
Right.
But Carter is the safer pick to me.
He's watching this right now, just using it as locker room material, Scott. So
just a picture of me in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Scott, I'm coming for you. Workouts, thanks for the help. Really helped, gentlemen. You're most welcome. Workouts, we appreciate that. Branch or Cross? Branch, 100%.
Branch, yeah.
Rick, good morning, gents. Ramondre or Javonte Williams? Ramondre Stevenson, for me, he is guaranteed touches. We have no idea what that Denver Broncos Sean Payton backfield is going to be looking like week to week. It could be an Estime week. It could be a Javonte Williams week, whatever.
Yeah, over the past 4 weeks, Stevenson hasn't played less than 70% of snaps. Give me Stevenson.
Love it. MDH, need a defensive tackle in the wire. Here you go, Scott. I don't even – there you go. So Odigizawai. Yeah, him too. Hand, Phillips, DJ Jones, or Godshaw?
Yeah, I wrote up Odigizua as I've done many weeks. He played 89% of snaps. I mean, he is really playing elite snaps for an interior defender. I like Hand. I feel like I might have written him up. Godchow with Barmore back and Ikwale getting some run in the middle and Keon White is sort of that move edge interior piece, I wouldn't go in that direction. For me, this one is Odigizua, just to chase the snaps and the most consistent role. Hand has played more or less in some weeks, depending on what they do with Emmanuel Ogba and Chop Robinson and just the rotating cast of characters. They've got a lot of those guys who can sort of play multiple positions on the line. So that's why I think I ended up avoiding writing up Hand this week, even though he had consideration. So it's Odigizua for me.
Perfect. And it's a fun name to say.
Yeah.
Cody wants to know Reed or Ridley this week in a full PPR. I'm going Jaden Reed. Just very set focal point of that offense. He's probably the most consistent wide receiver in Green Bay. Ridley, since the trade with Hopkins, has been pretty solid too, but I like that upside for Reed in a full PPR. Oh man, Jackie G's out for the season. No access to other linebackers. Who would you start at linebacker, Devin White or Terrell Dodson? Hoofta. Devin White low-key played 60% of snaps last week, so I don't know if we're going to get that again this week in Houston. Those snaps came at the expense of 2-0-2-0. Do you roll the dice and this is the Dodson week after being cut by Seattle, or do you go with Devin White?
I think I would. This is a tough spot to be in, so you're really swinging for upside more than anything. I could see either of these guys having a 0-point game, but I could see Dodson having a clearer path to picking up a sack, or he's one of those. He's not just a C-ball, tackle ball linebacker. He's someone that has some boom plays and won't be. So I guess here's the short-winded way of saying it. I think Dodson can do more with less snaps than White can. So for that reason, give me Dodson.
Perfect. And we've seen White doing what he does in his snaps. So give me the lotto ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Summer, good friend of the show, needing to pick two out of these: Brian Burns, Levante, Jerome Baker, Tyrese Knight. Thanks. These are always really tough when you have different positions, especially with scoring might be a little different for if defensive linemen get a bonus or whatnot. If it's straight scoring across the board, I'm probably going to go Levante David and Tyrese Knight.
I am really high on Burns. I would definitely, obviously you only have, and the other thing I like about playing Burns is you have that upside, even if it is flat scoring, if it's big play heavy, then you're getting, safety with, I have those three linebackers grouped very, very tightly. I have David ahead of Baker just by a hair, and then Knight. Knight's actually ahead of both of them. That makes it easier. So yes, I'm with you. Other than I would play Burns just for that. I like to have some upside potential whenever you're in these IDP flex positions where you want to get some guaranteed points, but you also want to have access to a big game.
Yeah. And so Summer, obviously scoring will make a big difference on who you just start there. If you get a bonus at all for the defensive line scoring, Burns is definitely the play there. So Juan needs to pick two, a wide receiver, two, and a flex. I got Justin Jefferson as my one. On the bench, I've got Juwan Jennings, Ramondre Stevenson, Josh Downs, Xavier Worthy, Pearsall, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and Josh Myers kills my tight end. I'm going to go with Juwan Jennings as my receiver and Stevenson as my flex.
I agree.
Overshown, Quay Walker, or Nakobe Dean starting two. I got the first two.
I've got the first two as well.
All right, good luck to you, Keith. Should I drop anyone on my bench for Xavier Worthy, Nick Westbrook-Akine, or Pearsall? On my bench, Kobe Myers, Daryl Mooney, Tyreek Hill, Valdez Scantling. If it's a dynasty, yes, I would drop Valdez Scantling, but
yeah, dynasty, even in redraft, I think there are paths to Worthy or Pearsall in particular having much bigger roles, and we think they have the talent. So I probably would pick up Worthy and drop MVS.
Yeah. Good luck to you, Juan. Thanks for the questions. Z 51, need wide receiver 3 because I'm on a bye. Slayton, Vele, Pierce, Leggett. Who do you guys hate the least of this group? I actually don't hate at all Leggett. He's been a really involved piece of that offense and stuff like that. So probably, with Thielen coming back, maybe loses a little bit of that shine, but he's for sure the wide receiver 3 for me in that group.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
And Vele would be a great, if you need a home run, if you're chasing this week, maybe Vele is your deep option there. And low key, if Neighbors is out, maybe Slayton.
Yeah, that just feels so weird. So weird to say after. He had that. I wouldn't say that great fantasy start, but he had at least an interesting fantasy start to his career where, especially in like my best ball leagues or my leagues where I had safe wide receivers, I'd throw him out there because he was so touchdown heavy and touchdown dependent. But yeah, I don't know. I've been burned by Slayton too many times to want to play him ever.
And who knows what that offense is going to look like with Tommy Cutlets under there. So
yeah.
This is the real last one from Andrea. Wants to know PPR Mike Evans or DeAndre Hopkins. Mike Evans for me, pretty easy. They're chasing that 1,000 yards, even though they say they're not. They're chasing it. They're chasing it. Rolled the dice on Herbig on Thursday night and hit. Now I need to sit one of these 4 guys: Hunter, Anderson, Jr., Grenard, and Tooley. Oof. So Tooley is the flavor of the day today, Scott. So
yeah, in this situation, I just want to make sure I don't backtrack. I think I would sit Tooley. Hunter, you have to play. Greenard is someone I have ranked significantly higher than Tooley. It's between Tooley and Anderson, but I'm definitely playing Hunter and I'm definitely playing Greenard. Since I've been going Tooley so much today and fading Anderson, I'll say Anderson on this one for this one person.
Welcome to the dark side. Welcome to the dark side. Julie wants to know Marlon Humphrey or A'Shawn Robinson IDP flex. So this is truly the flex question of the day. Totally different players, totally different positions. Scoring, huge factor for me in this one. If everything is the same, if it's straight scoring, I'm definitely going to go Marlon Humphrey. But if it's like some kind of bonus to defensive tackles.
Yeah, I tried to talk myself into A'Shawn Robinson. I have him as a solid deep play, and I could see that game getting out of hand, so the Chiefs end up running it a lot. Robinson is a good run defender. I think he already has a 5 or 6 tackle game to his credit this season, but I've got Humphrey as a tier 1 corner play, so I'll take the tier 1 corner play over a tier 3 DT, even if it's DT premium scoring. It would have to be super mega DT premium scoring for me to go Robinson over Humphrey.
Yeah. And I think game script will be big in this one. Chargers are going to have to throw the ball to keep up with Baltimore's offense, so I think that bodes well for Humphrey.
Yep.
Washington or Lake? I want to be cute here and say Washington because I love picking them up everywhere this week, but I got to go Lake.
Yeah, I'm going Lake as well.
Yeah. Campbell or Henley? Henley pretty easily for me.
Henley.
Yeah. In a pinch with By McGinn, Rodriguez or Ty Dodson, worried if he plays. We had a question very similar to this, like with Malcolm Rodriguez coming back off injury. Do we roll the dice on Ty Dodson just because this probably he can do the most with the least amount of snaps? So I think we're going to go Dodson here.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect. You're most welcome, Juice Man. Thanks for the question. Hope to see you again next week. Ramondre versus the Dolphins or Bucky versus the Giants? Oof. These are really 2 really good options. I like them. I'm going to give me Ramondre just because of that role in the offense is pretty consistent. Bucky has been the more efficient runner for the Buccaneers, but White has been getting the goal line looks because he's a little bit bigger back. He's been getting receiving work. But this will be the week Tampa Bay rolls and running the ball 38 times, and Bucky gets 30 of them. So
Yeah, I mean, we've seen too many different running backs used in Tampa. We've even had a couple of Sean Tucker games.
Sean Tucker weeks, I
at
know.
one point in time this season. So give me Ramondre. He's just safer. We know, I think I just looked it up a little bit ago. He's played like 70% of snaps in all those games over the past few weeks. So I would go Ramondre there.
Protect Your QB wants to know Nick Bonita or Kobe Turner this week, Scott.
Turner by a lot for me. I like Benito, but Turner outsnaps him. Turner.
All right. Jason's on with the Ecto Cooler.
Nice.
Blast of the day. We got Nick Cross, Trevon Moehrig, or Darius Washington need 2. So Cross is for sure in. He's pretty much matchup proof this season. He's proven that. I love Moehrig this season, but I think here, Jason, I want to get cute. I want to get Washington in my lineup. I'm going to go Cross in Washington.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I don't think it's getting too cute either, because I have Washington as a tier 1 safety, and I have Moehrig as a tier 2, like a late tier 2. So yeah, give me Cross in Washington.
Doubling down on our Washington, JP wants to know, would you play Darius Washington if he is CB eligible? Definitely be playing him if he's CB eligible.
Yes.
Slap the easy one. Slap it. Slap it. That's an easy one. That's an easy one. Yes. Hello, Jack in the Village. Only I'm starting Zaire and need to choose between Ernest saves IDP Jones and Blake Cashman. Ernest saves IDP Jones for me.
Cashman for me, but
really
good options. Well, okay. That was my gut. Let me just really quick.
Arizona's been running the shit up, running a lot of crap out of the ball, and Jones has just been there 100% of snaps.
He has, I don't know. I'm really high on Cashman this week, man. I don't know what to tell you. I have Cashman as my, again, LB 9 for the week. So I'm pretty high on Cashman.
Where do you have Jones, just for giggles?
I don't. We were talking earlier about me reconciling my databases.
Oh, sure. Because he's Jones Jr.
Why am I not finding Ernest Jones? Like, he's a good player. He should be up there for me.
Yeah.
Cashman is up there for me because he's in there. When you move teams, I never reconciled that because I also, this is the 5th time all year I've had a chance to talk any position other than defensive line. So, we were talking almost a 500 deep database of defensive linemen that I keep updated every week. Don't do the same with linebackers. So maybe you're right. Maybe if I had plugged the data into the model, he would have shown up I'm guessing it'd be a tier 1 play at least, but it's good options to have there.
Regardless, all 3 are LB1s this week.
Yes.
You can't go wrong. Rest of season, Thule or Landry? Our friend Nick wants to know.
I'd say Landry rest of season. Thule is in more of a rotation than Landry is. So it's Landry and Key, and that's it there. Thule has Bosa if he plays. I don't think he's on IR, but I'm just assuming he's hurt in some kind of way. I know they've been using him very sparingly, even when he has been healthy enough to go. You've also got Bud Dupree, who's been getting around 60% of snaps pretty consistently. You just got a lot of mouths to feed in San Diego at the edge spot. So I think Landry has the clearest path to consistent snaps, and we know he has the talent. So give me those 2 factors. Like Thule more for Dynasty. I would probably do this trade 1-to-1 in Dynasty right now because I think Thule has ascended after a slower start. Now he's getting the opportunities. He's showing what he can do. But rest of the season, probably Landry for me.
Perfect. BJ wants to know who to start as a flex: Demario Douglas, Romeo Doubs, or Will Dissly. Dissly's probably a safer floor just because the other tight end got ruled out already. His name is escaping me. If you need a home run, I'm going to go Douglas. If you need a high floor, I'm going Disley here.
So I'm going to disagree a little bit.
Good.
And
Good.
In this case, I'm going to chase snaps. Dobbs played 20% more snaps than Douglas last week. Disley is in an offense that hasn't really featured the tight end regardless of who it is. And so I would go Dobbs here.
You're not worried about Dobbs like not having – I mean, he's playing a ton of snaps, but he hasn't had more than like 6 targets in like 3 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know. The other thing is, like I told you, I like to pivot back to which offense I like the best. And we've seen those flashes of the Packers offense when Love has really clicked. I haven't been playing Love as much lately just because of the injuries and different things. And the leagues where I have Love, I also have like a Russell Wilson or someone else who is pretty comparable who I've been running with. But I think I would lean Dobbs just because he's going to have the most chances. You're right. His like route participation isn't great. Targets aren't great, but he was the leading receiver in snaps each of the last, since week 6, he's led the team in snaps. So just at least a more consistent role that hasn't been fantasy productive over an inconsistent role, over 2 other inconsistent roles that have been very limited fantasy productive as well.
Too bad offensive snaps aren't the same as defensive snaps. Right? We're always chasing defensive snaps all the time, but too bad offensive snaps aren't the same. So more reason to play IDP. Reason to play
absolutely.
IDP. This is the really, really, really last one from Andrea. Tank Dell or DJ Moore?
I like Moore.
I do too. Like, it just seems odd to even have the question between the two. And I know with Nico Collins coming back,
Houston's offense is better. So Houston is clicking a lot more. But DJ Moore, to me, this is just a talent play. I mean, he is the more talented guy. And so I don't know. I have a feeling in my bones that Moore is going to have a good game today. I don't know exactly why, but I can just see him getting really involved and being force fed. Maybe something incepted into me from listening to sports talk radio earlier in the week.
Well, we'll take it. We'll take those feelings. Sometimes you got to trust your gut. So good luck to Andrea. Appreciate all your questions this morning. BJ, which D do you start out with? Duggar, Sanistril, Jenkins, or Darius Washington? Duggar was back to playing last week. He played 100% of snaps, I believe. Wasn't anything overly effective in those snaps, but he was out there playing, so that's a plus. Sanistril gets the Cowboys. Jenkins coming back from injury, or the boy, Darius Washington. So
yeah, it's an Darius Washington kind of day for me. I've got him as a tier 1 play. Love having a guy going on. I mean, this is a little silly tiebreaker, but it's fun about having guys going on Monday night because it gives you a chance to, no matter what's going on, you can have a huge game and suddenly you end up turning a loss into a win. So I like Sainer still long-term as like a slot corner, but not Jenkins. I like Jenkins too, but he's coming back from injury. It's Darius Washington.
Yeah, I like that call. I just don't want to always be in on my guys like Washington and Lake all the time. By default, they're my go-to guys. But Ryan, he needs 2 of these. Derwin James, Trevion Morrig, Reed Blankenship, or Hamilton. So Morrig's probably easy out for me. And then it goes down to Derwin James, Blankenship, or Hamilton. Hamilton's an easy in for me.
Yeah, and I'm not sitting Derwin James. I'm not going to do that. I like Blankenship, but Derwin and Hamilton.
Yeah, and I know that Derwin James had an injury designation, but that's been since gone, so he's good to go. So that's always a good sign. On paper, Blackman and Newman have good matchups for Detroit. Help me pick one, please, for our friend Roguru. I'm going to go Newman here. I think with Tampa getting Mike Evans back, they got Kate Otten there, Rashid White coming out of the backfield catching. I think Newman has a really good tackle day.
Yeah, I've got Newbin significantly ahead. I've got Blackman down around my IDP 200 for the week, and Newbin's at 120. So, and again, I don't do as much modeling with safety and everything, so don't take that as gospel. But just looking at snaps, looking at advantageous matchups, looking at underlying grades, it's Newbin by a pretty wide margin this week for me.
Perfect. Good luck to you, Roguru. Dallas Goedert or McBride. I don't know how you can go anyone a tight end other than McBride as the tight end one. Goddard's a great second option, especially like we mentioned earlier with Devontae Smith being ruled out, but McBride is just a beast for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I agree.
This one hurts my heart. Roguru, Neighbors or McConkey. McConkey's got was questionable. Then you got to wait till Monday night to hear that. So if Neighbors suits up and is going, we'll know that by noon. I think you almost have to go Neighbors here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that offense runs through Neighbors when he plays. So, and if he doesn't, you'll know, and you can pivot to McConkey. And if he doesn't, then have a plan C.
Right. Fantasy sports. This is a question actually for rest of season. So, which safety do you like more, Evan Williams or Taylor Rapp? Rapp has been consistent, but not sure he plays more in the box than Hamlin or Rapp. Rapp has really been turning on the last few weeks. The last 3 or 4 weeks, he's been much more consistent, much more involved in the offense. I think he had an injury week 5 that kind of slowed him down a little bit. I personally, from a IDP perspective, probably like Evan Williams' role more on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
But Rapp, makes a good case too going forward. I'm going to go Evan Williams here just rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm Evan Williams too. I like him more this week, and that's a good – there's not that much time left in the rest of season, so, having someone significantly higher in 1 week is a good way to get it springboarded. But, yeah, give me Evan Williams. Good talent, good snaps, good role. Let's go Williams.
BJ wants to know Madubuike, Nick Bonita, or Grover Stewart. Balanced scoring.
For me, it is Madubuike. I like Stewart. I like Stewart's floor a lot more than Madubuike because Stewart does tend to get sacks. Bonito, to me, is as risky of a play as Madubuike, and I like Madubuike's talent better. So give me Nnamdi.
Sounds good. Hey guys, what do you think of Kalijah Cansey? Do I play him over Anthony Jennings?
See, this is what I love. Now we're getting into a little bit. I know Cansey isn't a deep name, but I've got Cansey as a tier 3 play this week. He's being brought down in part because of his snaps. I also don't punish players in my model for being bad run defenders. You get bonuses if you are a good run defender. His run defense grade on the season is a 29.8. That's not great. I've rolled with Jennings a lot. So if I have Cansey at 261, I have Jennings. Oh man, I've got him all the way up at 84 this week. So, and sorry, when I said 200 and something versus 100, I forgot I have a bunch of buy players in the beginning. So like shift those numbers up by 50 if you want a real sense of where I'm at with people. But with that logic, I have Anthony Jennings as my IDP about 38 this week. So give me Anthony Jennings by a good margin.
Excellent. Yep. For above. Yes, that would make for a fun. You're always going to be scoring points every minute of the game. You're going to have a chance to score points there, Ryan. Not so much down on Morrig, just like those other options better, Jason. Looking at the options that we have at your safety position with the players that you have, not down on Morrig, just a better opportunity for those other players to produce more consistently for me. So, JP wanted a defender answer about starting Rashawn Gary. He's been heating up in the new scheme, but Kobe Turner definitely has been more successful. Ryan, Quentin Johnson, or Calvin Ridley. I'm going to go Quentin Johnson, especially in a game script where Chargers are going to have to pass the ball. And if Vlad McConkey's out, Quentin Johnson figures to be the centerpiece there. Last 2 questions as we're up against the clock. Thank you, everyone, for being on today. We are over 300 views. That's fantastic. That's Awesome number. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button so you're always notified when everything happens here. JP, curious, would you play Kitchens versus Philly or Evan Williams versus San Francisco? It's got to be Evan Williams here because Kitchens has been 50% play, right?
Yeah, his play his snaps have significantly dropped, and even if they haven't, I was higher on. I'm very high on Evan Williams this week, as I was surprised. But yeah, looking at Kitchen's snaps, 51, 74, 54 last 3 games. That's not great. It's Evan Williams full-time role, fun matchup. Give me Williams.
Yep. And follow up, last question of the day. Evan Williams play more deep snaps. He's playing more deep, but he's also playing about 35, 40% like in the slot or corner position in the box. So, that's pretty decent for a rotational defensive player there. So we're going to go with that one. So McConkey or D-Hop. Monday night game is really tough to take a 0 if you wait on McConkey. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to go D-Hop unless you have an option to pivot to there. So,
yeah, I'm just a little bit worried that game is going to get out of hand. And so you need D-Hop to score in the first. You need D-Hop to score kind of early for you because he might not be relevant later on. One thing I did just want to circle back to, I know we're up against the clock, but just real briefly with that idea of Evan Williams' alignment, we do love box snaps, and box snaps are predictive. But I think we're starting to have more and more realization that not all deep safety snaps are the same, and that there really is sort of like the box, there's mid, and then there's deep. And I'll be interested to see how those kind of metrics evolve over time, because you have some players that are doing a lot more of that true center field kind of role. And then you have some guys who aren't lining up nearly as far back. Like I'm thinking, I was just listening to John and Mike earlier this week, and they were talking about Minkah Fitzpatrick and his role and how he's just been playing deeper and deeper and deeper. I don't think Evan Williams is one of those guys. He gets some box snaps, but even when he's deep, it's not like he's 20 yards, 30 yards off the ball.
All right. Last 2 questions, Scott, and we'll let you get out of here. DJ Woonem or Yaya Diaby this week?
So I have Wonnum. If you want to learn more about what I think about Wonnum, go on the IDP show site. This week's DL streaming article, I have a write-up about Wonnum. He is a tier 2 play for me, largely on the basis of the snaps, 67% of snaps last week in what I believe was his first week back. So I think that number might go up and not down this week. Granted, not a great matchup against Mahomes, who is difficult to sack and who will likely not have to throw much. But Wonnum is going to get a lot of play. Diaby, I like Diaby. I've written him up before in some past articles as well. But I think for me this week, it's close. It's really close, but it's Wonnum for me this week.
Perfect. And Ryan, we'll get you out of here. We're going to go Henley over Campbell. Yes. Deion Henley over Campbell this week in your show. So 100%. Scott, appreciate you coming on this week. It's been fantastic. I love your insight on the defensive line, love the rankings and things like that. So friends, please be sure to check out Scott's work over at the IDPshow.com. Every week he's writing up the defensive line waiver wire or waiver streaming options for you. So a lot of great insight. So Scott, appreciate it. Thank you. And have a great Thanksgiving if I don't see you before.
Yeah, same to you. Always love being able to talk positions. I love talking defensive line, but it's fun, especially when we have some of these, cross positional. Do I start this CB1 versus this, DT3, and just a lot of fun because these are the things that I'm dealing with when I'm setting my lineups too. So always enjoy being on with you.
I appreciate that. And then Scott, let's have you back on before the end of the season here. We got a couple weeks left of the season, so let's get you back on.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm going to be at Bengals Steelers next Sunday. So hopefully that can go decently well for my Bengals. But yeah, other than that, as long as I'm not either celebrating for too long or in sorrow for too long, I'd be very happy to come back on.
Somewhere in the middle, right? So
yeah.
All right. Appreciate it, Scott. Have a great day and good luck to everyone in week 12. Bye, Mageddon. Peace out.